So some of you are thinking to becoming a truck driver. No idea why. But anyways, this video is for you. Here's some things that you might want to consider before becoming a truck driver. Now, seasoned drivers out there, this is a chance for you to comment and help out the younger generation that want to become truck drivers. So let's start off with number one. I hate to burst your bubble, but a lot of people think that you might become rich from this industry or getting into trucking because you're going to become rich. So as a truck driver, okay, I'll be the first one to tell you that you're not going to be rich, all right? You're going to have a comfortable lifestyle. Truck drivers make a decent amount of money. They make good money. We're talking about 80, 90, 95, 100, 110, maybe even 120K. As a starting point, I feel like once you come right out of school, you'll probably make a lot less than that, but in your second and third year, you can definitely get to the 80, 90, and 100, and then there are many paths that you can take to make a lot more than that. All right, so for those guys that think that they're coming into this industry, they're going to be rich overnight and they're going to get a good job and they're going to get $10,000, $15,000 a month, that does not happen anymore, okay? Especially not as a truck driver. The second thing you're going to need to consider is whether you're going to go regional or long haul. For me, the rule is, it depends on your age, it depends on your status. Are you married? Are you single? Are you in a relationship? I mean, that can alter my response to you. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, number one, is if you are, if you're married and if you have kids. Because if you are married and you have kids, then I think the regional route would probably be a lot better. I have, a young family myself. I got 3 kids, and, I wouldn't want to miss, important dates and birthdays and anniversaries. And as a truck driver, as a long haul truck driver, you're going to miss a lot of those dates. The next thing is, your relationship with your wife, with your girlfriend. I mean, can it sustain, you not being home for 14 days at a time, sometimes 7 days at a 14. I mean, you talk to truck drivers in the US and in Canada, some of them are working for, 21 days straight. Are you going local, or are you going regional, or are you going long haul? That's a very, very big question that you want to ask yourself. And the answer would depend on, you should probably think to yourself is, can you handle it yourself? Forget the wife and the kids. Can you handle being on the road for 21 days at a time? Obviously there's jobs out there that you can do long haul and, and do a reset. I know here in the GTA, I mean, our drivers that go out, I mean, they're home doing their reset on the 6th day, right? Next thing I want to make sure to emphasize in you all is safety is everything. When you guys have family and kids out there, I have family and kids out there, we're all driving on the exact same roads. Safety is number one. If you're newly licensed and you're going to get a job, now that job better give you that comfortable feeling, because if you see that they're not safety oriented, run away from that company, because they will destroy your license, they will destroy your safety record, and they can cause a lot more damage on the road. And you just don't want to be a part of that. Over the years, I've seen guys that are really rushing to, to drive solo. Usually the way that it works is after you get your license, most likely you're going to be working in a team. That coworker that you have, or the person that you're working with in a team, is experienced and that you can learn a lot of good things from them. A lot of drivers, they get annoyed by a very detailed driver trainer. You might get annoyed with how long he takes to explain things to you. But the thing is that a good driver trainer is going to set the pathway for you and your career. So don't be rushing through it. I've seen so many drivers come in through the doors that don't know how to do a proper PTI, that, they will never pass a road test in our company because they weren't trained properly. They were just in it, to get their license. And which leads me to my next topic, is about the driving school. Guys, you don't understand how important it is to select the right driving school. Not the cheapest driving school, but the driving school that's going to instill in you, safety. That's going to instill in you the confidence that you need in order to drive this 80,000 pound, tractor and trailer behind it. The driver trainer or the school that you're choosing really needs to invest in you, and the proper time. Definitely you need to get the hours behind the wheel before you get your license. So don't cheapen out on that driving school. That's one of the most important things, especially for you new guys out there. The last thing I'm going to talk about is your love language. Every truck driver has their own love language out there. Same thing that we have in relationships, the same thing with you as a truck driver. Now, different drivers have different love languages. And the love language is the reason that you came into trucking. Now, I can segregate this probably into 4 different parts. The people that I usually meet are either they're coming into trucking because whatever it is that they were doing before did not produce enough for their lifestyle. So, husband and wife, I see this a lot. The wife tells the husband, listen, our friends over there, her husband is a truck driver. They make fairly decent money. They pay the bills every month. They're not struggling like we are. You should maybe consider going into trucking. A lot of the times I see, divorce definitely gets people into trucking. I mean, myself, somebody who is, divorced, I can definitely tell you that sometimes you just want to, go and run away. You want to run away from problems. You want to get into a truck and you just want to, go as far as you can. And trucking will give you that. Financial hardship, you want to do something that's very stable, and trucking is extremely stable. You know you're going to have a job. You know you're going to make X amount of dollars. Ups and downs as a company driver, it doesn't matter. They don't feel it as much as fleet owners do. They get paid per mile, they get paid a salary, they get paid per hour, and they go home and they do their thing, right? So there's not so many fluctuations as a company driver in our industry. So for those guys that, understanding your love language, I mean, some other guys, that are coming to trucking because it means a better life for them. It means that they can relocate from wherever they are right now into Canada or into America. Through the trucking program, they can get their papers, and that's why they become truck drivers in Canada and in the US. So they know that they got to do, their 3-4 years. A lot of people are coming in and out of the industry. There's a huge movement, out of trucking. I mean, there's a lot of people coming into the industry and getting Class 1 licenses, but the same amount of people that are coming in are also coming out. So understanding your love language is definitely important, because based on your love language, that's the kind of job that you're going to find. So the guy that needs, documents or paperwork is going to find a different kind of company. The one that's in debt is going to find, the highest rate per mile. I would say it's hard to find these kind of drivers, but the die-hard truckers, I mean, the ones that love our industry, I mean, they're all about prestige. They're about, driving flatbeds and, wide loads and heavy haul and multi-axle, and they're just, they're in it for a whole nother reason, because they love the job. So based on your love language, you should be finding a job out there. Now, I also run into a lot of people that are coming into trucking because it's their gateway to, their next big thing. So a lot of people fail at something else. They come into trucking. They know they're going to get back up on their feet, and then they go and do something else. So they're just in it to raise capital. And if they're in it to raise capital, then you're probably looking for a different type of company out there, right? So I've seen so many drivers that, that are coming in and out. In 18 years, I've seen a few cycles of this. I've had a couple of drivers that, back in 2009, 10, 11, they left ET Transport, and then I see them coming back at 2015, 16. I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, I opened up a restaurant, or oh, I did this, or oh, I did that. And then if that failed, then they know that they can rely back on trucking. So I see a lot of people coming in and out, and trucking is not what they want to do. They just know that, it's what they're going to do until their next project. So just understand what your end game is. That's really the advice that I have for new drivers out there coming into the industry, is understand what your end game is. Are you coming in it to raise money and then leave? Are you coming in it because you want a career within trucking, so you're going to become a company driver? Obviously, then you're going to probably most likely want to buy your own truck. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that really want to take advantage. Trucking is huge. Everywhere you see, I mean, any highway you look at, you see how many trucks there are on the road. It's a very lucrative business, or it can be a very lucrative business, but it also has its ups and downs. So understanding your end game is very important in our industry, and why you are coming into the industry. So I've been an advocate for drivers probably for about 4 years now within the YouTube channel. Enjoy the free knowledge out there. I'm Ronen, Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next video.